incurred work. The final amount is yet to be determined. However, what I can tell you is that the donation that is being offered would cover the travel expenses and a good portion of his, or if not all of his actual hourly wages. There is, we believe, going to be some overtime. However, we do have the option and ability to potentially receive additional funds from another posse if they choose to do so, like they have in this case, to again offset those expenses and to keep, in Sheriff Arpaio's word, this out of the taxpayer's pocket. Thank you.
So it does cover their wages, apparently, because Sheriff Arpaio, in a press conference, did state that this would not cover his wages, that the department was picking up those wages. So I'm kind of unclear as to, was Arpaio telling the truth at that press conference, or are you telling the truth here today that it covers the wages? I mean, there seems to be some confusion from what Arpaio said on public record on TV and what the deputy just stated.
I think you could probably follow up with the deputy for any clarification, but...
You're the board.
No.
You're the board.
Okay. Does it also cover in that cost any administrative fees for processing the payroll, any additional expenses that may have been incurred to send this deputy over there?
Doesn't he work for you?
And don't you work for us?
Nobody has an answer to that.
Silence is gold.
Maybe Ms. Trumby can come back up, and I have a question for him. Because this issue is one that has come up. We have a lot of people here today, I think, are going to talk on it. So, by the sheriff accepting these donations or asking us to accept them, is that saying that he knows it wasn't justified to do it?
And I'm sorry, Supervisor Wilcox, I don't understand the question. If you could one more time, please.
These are donations that the sheriff is asking us to accept. Does this mean that he is saying publicly that he is going to accept donations because he knew the county money should not have been spent this way?
Well, I don't believe so. Sorry. I don't believe so, but I don't wish to speak directly for the sheriff. I'm trying to let you all know, and everybody here that has concern, that, again, the sheriff is keeping to his word in ensuring that taxpayer money, as he stated, wouldn't be spent on this posse investigation. There's a timing issue when we have to send a sworn police officer, deputy, along with a posseman, much like we do extraditions at times, so that in order to be able to do that, we have to front, for lack of a better term, the travel expenses to get that individual with that posseman out there. The fact that expenses were incurred is being addressed here today by this donation. And I apologize if I didn't answer your question, but...
Well, I think you answered the best that you know. It just seems very odd that when we give money through our budget to the sheriff for public safety, we realize that there are extraditions, there's travel involved, but we have never had the instance where money is donated to us to do public safety work that is justifiable. So I just have a real concern that was this money used in the correct manner? Perhaps, Tom, you could look into this, because if this money is being substituted because it was not used in the correct manner, perhaps there's a budget violation that we should look at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I had a couple more questions. My next question would be, does this donation cover all the costs to Maricopa County Sheriff's Office expenses? Whenever Sheriff Arpaio holds a press conference to talk about the birther issue, he's there, there's other deputies, his security team is there. Is all that cost covered by this $5,000 donation? Because if not, he is still continuing to use taxpayer dollars to pursue this birther issue.
Thank you. Sandy, would you like to comment on, not to him directly, but to us on this?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I did want to just say a couple of notes to clarify the process that we have.
regarding reviewing expenses for the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office at this point is on a line item review. What we do is we review the costs after they're incurred. So what we will be doing and can do for the board on this particular issue is take a look at the travel and the staffing expenses once they hit, which they probably will be hitting in the June close. So I'm talking about probably sometime in July, and then we can report back. But we will be looking at the appropriate use of the travel, make sure it fits all of our travel procedures and policies, and as well as take a look at the total cost of the trip. So we can do that. We work very closely with the sheriff's office and can report back at probably in about a month.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think, Sandy, if you can give us that report in a format that answers some of the questions that we've been asked. Is this the total cost, travel, wages, and everything? What's the total cost of that whole trip?
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Wilcox, yeah, we're glad to do that. I hear some murmuring in the audience about the fact that we work closely with the sheriff's office. I just want to address that quickly. Of course we do. The sheriff's office is on a line item review, and it's necessary and appropriate for us to work closely with the sheriff's office on reviewing expenses, and we do that on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Next will be Randy Perez. Your time is up.
Everybody asking questions, we answer questions.
They took his time.
This isn't your show, dude. It's a Board of Supervisors meeting.
Ain't your show either.
Right.
Randy Perez.
I'm not putting on a show, am I?
Yeah, you are.
Hi, my name is Molly Duran. I was
These people since it started, and nobody said a word to me. Now, when are you going to be finished?
Come on, Fran.
Molly Duran, is it?
That's me.
Go ahead.
Come
Good
on,
morning.
Fran.
My name is Molly Duran, and I live in Central Phoenix, and I have been a resident of Maricopa County for many
Hey,
years.
Kanasik.
I find it very interesting that Mr. Kanasik
Just left.
the seat because he is the person I'm here to address today. He is the supervisor for my district. I was here on the 6th, and I would like to thank you very much for putting this very important issue on your agenda today. So about a year ago, I began a citizen's attempt to understand county politics and have since attended many meetings in this room. I've been surprised at the breadth of responsibilities this board has, and I've become clear about the influence of decisions made in these chambers. Earlier this month, I had the pleasure of meeting you, Mr. Kunasik, and was truly interested in what you had to say. When I asked you about Sheriff Arpaio, you explained very clearly that the voters of Maricopa County seem to be confused, that this board only controls the sheriff's money, not his behavior. But herein lies the confusion, because money is power, and in times of corruption like we see in our county, the ability to control that money is priceless. Clearly, we did not vote for bookkeepers. We voted for leaders to make sound judgment on our behalf. So my only confusion in regard to this board concerns its long-standing acceptance of unacceptable behavior. In January, I attended a meeting in these chambers and had the distinct honor of meeting Mr. Bruce Boynton, one of the original freedom riders of the 1960s. He spoke about his experiences and his obligation to do the right thing. As he spoke, we saw simple courage, profound leadership by action, and admirable clarity of consciousness that led him to action. When he was finished speaking, we all rose to our feet and gave him a standing ovation. And as I watched each of you rise to your feet, I wondered, what do these good supervisors find so easily applaudable about Mr. Boynton that they cannot find within themselves to do the right thing? So my request of you today is very simple. Tell the sheriff that you will not support our tax dollars being spent on a birther issue. Tell your constituents that you are concerned about crime, corruption, and injustice in our community. So I ask you specifically, Mr. Kunasik, as it pertains to item number 22, should public funds be used for Sheriff Arpaio's birther investigation?
Thank you. Your time is up.
Well, please.
Next, Randy Perez.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Mr. Rand. Molly?
Yes.
Oh, and I enjoyed our conversation as well the other night. That was, and I think you might have missed the part about charter government and the difference between a city or a town and their statutory framework and a county. But nevertheless, one of the things that I heard 2 weeks ago, I think, when you last appeared, was on the subject of the expenditure of public funds. I think that probably the sheriff's office or the sheriff was watching as well, and I think that's what prompted this effort to cover any taxpayer expenditure. So I'm a little confused on, are you opposed to accepting funds to offset the taxpayer?
Absolutely. I don't know how you could be confused about my opposition to this. And I'm very clear, as are many voters and residents of this county, that we don't reimburse money unless that money has already been spent. And obviously, there's a lot of confusion in this room about how that money has been spent and whether or not it was legitimate.
Thank you. Third time, Randy, would you like to say?
Thank you, Chairman. I think if anyone's confused, it is Supervisor Canassi. We are not giving Sheriff our public credit card to advance costs on this birther investigation. That needs to stop, and that's why we're asking you all to take a stand today. We have a very simple resolution Supervisor Wilcox already signed. It says, whereas the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors provide fiscal oversight to all departments, including the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Arpaio, whereas now been proven and established the fact that Sheriff Arpaio has used our taxpayer dollars to fund his birth investigation to determine whether President Obama is indeed a citizen of the United States, whereas this type of investigation is well outside the jurisdiction of Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, the duties and responsibilities of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and whereas serious crimes that need investigation have occurred in Maricopa County, and taxpayers expect all available political resources to be utilized to solve these crimes, therefore be resolved, the Board of Supervisors call on Sheriff Arpaio and MCSO to stop using taxpayer dollars to fund Sheriff Arpaio's investigation of President Obama's birth certificate. It's a very simple resolution that
All agenda's about donations.
you all have chosen to do it. And yes, we are against donation. This is not, we don't want to privatize the sheriff's office. We all pay for public dollars to hold them accountable. So what, someone else calls them and say they give them $10,000, they can go investigate their own personal agenda? No, this is about holding public officials accountable with our taxpayer dollars. No, he can no longer advance on our dime, it's our money, and pay for someone to go to Hawaii where he says did literally nothing, and come back and say, well, reimburse me on the backside. Someone bail me out and give me some money so we can pay for it. This is not the county government. And Canasta, you should know better than that. You understand how it works, so don't try to play as, oh, you don't want someone to donate some money and offset it. No, we don't. We want him to be responsible. We want you to be responsible. We call on you to do this. Like right now, you have in terms of who should be funds, Maryville's book that says no, they should not be, these public funds should not be used for that purpose. Supervisor Canasta, what do you think?
Randy, I'm wondering, do you want politicians to be able to direct law enforcement on what crimes to investigate and not investigate?
In
Hawaii? In Hawaii?
The discussion here today.
The budget dictates priorities. So by you staying silent on this, you're saying it's okay for our tax dollars, he asked the question, Chairman Wilson, to send some deputy to do nothing to go to Hawaii on a birth investigation. That's absurd. And how you cannot make that connection is beyond all of us.
Birther
So you have
supervisors?
another question?
Well, I was intrigued by one of the editorials in the newspaper today that suggested that self-righteousness often has a weird way of walling off its practitioners from the harsh fact that they are often just acting like clowns.
So how's it working?
Amen.
How's that working for you?
And you were the first.
Well, we see how it's working for you.
Well, you fit that bill just well, Mr. Canasta.
Amen.
Yeah. Gotta love politicians that are so condescending.
You guys, the four of you, the three of you are for that. For using public dollars for that purpose. You're for that.
And the rest of you are for giving it to Mary Rose for furthering your agenda.
Birther Canasta?
Your comments?
No, it's a silence.
Next on our agenda, Luke Rowley.
Well,